A friend of mine, a mutual friend of ours actually, another comic, went to see your show in Edinburgh, and he messaged me after going, I think Tom's had enough of this shit. Yeah. And I don't know what shit he was talking about exactly, but I was curious.
I threw out every rule in the book is what I've done. I got tired of listening to people going, well, you can't punch up and you can't punch down, and you know, that's a hack premise or that's a dick joke or whatever. You're living in a world where there's now rules of comedy, which comedy was there to break all those rules. Do you know what I mean? And we've just gotten so far to what you can say and what you can't say. We've been dying out on caviar every fucking day lately. I want a McDonald's burger. You know what I mean? I'm getting tired of the snails, man. It's just a fucking comedy show. You know what I mean? Like, fucking, if you don't like them, don't go and fucking see them. How about that, man? But you're right. Now, fucking, you don't like a comedy show. Oh my God, here comes a Facebook post. Here comes a block. I gotta block you now. I gotta do all of that sort of stuff. TripAdvisor, 4-star 3.5-star comedian. I've just gone to the point, well, you know what? I'm gonna take everything everybody's scared of saying, and I'm gonna chuck it right in their face.
Our brilliant guest today is one of our favorite comedians here in the UK, Tom Stade. Welcome to TRIGGERnometry.
Thank you, Konstantin. Thank you, Francis.
I can tell.
I feel like I'm at a job interview.
What qualifies you to be here? No, no, man, it's really great to have you on. We obviously know exactly who you are, but there'll be a lot of people in our audience who also know who you are and a lot who don't. So who are you? What's been your journey through life? How are you here, Tom?
Okay, well, we'll start. I'll try and sum it up pretty quick, man. I was a comedian in Canada. Started out in 1989 in a little place called Punchline's Gastown, which wasn't there. From there, I worked my way up doing TV shows and all that sort of stuff in Canada, whatever TV shows were there, whatever kind of show business was there. And I think in the late 90s, after we went to LA and did a whole bunch of stuff there, I was invited to come to the UK with a friend. And I did a couple of guest spots in the UK. And believe me, the UK was not on my radar at that time. And then I came home, and I remember, when was 9/11? Whenever 9/11 was, because I came home and I got, after doing the Jongleurs, I don't know, there used to be a big chain, same, but I mean, what a great chain it was. Like, it was awesome. And then, and then I came back to Canada and I got this email with just boom, 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 lots of work. And the lucky part is my lovely lady, Trudy, turns out she was a British citizen, which I did not know at the time, just so everybody can
For
understand.
the record.
Yeah. I did not marry into this country, but she goes, Tom, you know my parents are English. And I was like, oh God, I thought they were Newfie. And so she said, well, why don't we go over for a year? Let's just go over for a year and see what happens. And then next thing you know, we got over here. All of a sudden, the TV shows came. The Comedy Store, I think, was the very first one. And so we did about 4 or 5 of those. And then we did, oh God, I can't remember, but the guy that represented Bruce Forsyth, like Ian somebody, he had a bunch of shows. And then we did Live at the Apollo, probably most for your viewers. We did a joke, no, not Live at the Apollo, Michael McIntyre's Road Show.
Right.
Yeah.
And we did the very first one of those, and I did a joke called The Meat Van on there, and that just went ballistic. Like, I've never seen, it was like writing a hit song, and then you did the Apollo. That went really well, and then we did the Apollo, and then a couple little things after that, and and then pretty much I'm now just here as a fixture because I've decided to make this place my home. How's that?
Yeah,
How's
no,
that
that's
for
awesome.
a
And
night?
you're
man.
15 specials deep. Now, there's stuff we want to ask you about, which we'll get into later. But actually, before we started, you were talking about Live at the Apollo, and you were saying doing Live at the Apollo in those days just changed your life, right?
Yes.
That's how significant it was.
Yeah. When before, because I don't think all of this stuff was happening when we did, and I always think like I'm always that last guy through the Stargate before it closes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I hopped through the Stargate, and like that was a time where you could probably. It would be the equivalent of going viral back then. Do you know what I mean? Because the Apollo was the only show that was out there, and Michael McIntyre was just on his ride up. And now the Apollo is pretty much, you know, I don't know this for sure. Okay, everything that I say is only an opinion, but the Apollo now is more of a way, it's more of a thing on your resume than it is a pinnacle.
Yes.
Do you know, like,
Yeah.
so, and the, and I think it's one of these closed clubs, you know. I remember there's a guy named Anthony, who's the producer there, and I saw him at the Loft Bar one time, and it was very funny to ask him to go, so when am I getting on the Apollo again? And he said, well, I don't think that's going to happen, Tom. We got a lot of box ticket exercises going on there, and I was really shocked to hear that. Do you know what I mean? Because you know, I'm all for diversity, but diversity also has to have that talent to it. You know what I mean? And I think, and there's no criticism to anyone, but again, if we're talking about old days till now,
Yeah.
do you know, I feel that, you know, they always said it took 10 years to become a comedian, but thanks to the internet and all of that sort of stuff, that time scale has now gone down to, like, I see people on the Apollo that have been, there's a kid that I know that I'm not going to mention that's only been doing it 3 years, and he's going to be on the next episode, which is fantastic. You know what I mean? I've got no malice or anything like that, but I'm like, wow, it just shows you how the times have changed, how the industry has changed. I mean, you hear of people going on shows because they have more followers than the TV show would have viewers. I don't know if that's true, but it rings true to me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So to say to be on the Apollo now isn't the same. I think a Netflix special is probably would be the equivalent of what the Apollo used to be, you know, because also you're living in a world where you can go global just like that. Do you know what I mean? And that is unheard of, man, for me. That is like one of those things that all of a sudden, you know, like you got Danny Sloss, who is just this kid. All of a sudden, one Netflix special, he's selling out in Texas, for crying out loud. So how great is that? You know what I mean? So there's opportunity to be had there. And, you know, you got to kind of roll with these changes. You can't, you know, you can't criticize. You can try and understand them, but you can't criticize them because they're actually happening. And if you can't move with those times, then you're like a Jongleurs comedian who's now not a comedian because he could only do the Jongleurs model.
It's interesting what you're talking about, because to me, I'm going to criticize it because comedians hate me and I hate them. But for me, like that kid, look, you can't blame the kid for taking the opportunity.
No, of
Let's
course you
get that
can't.
straight. If any
you
one
can.
of us had been offered that, we would have gone for it.
Yep.
Best of luck to whoever that kid is. But you're not telling me after 3 years of gigging, he has got the chops to play that room.
Well, there's the double-edged sword, Francis. I mean, okay, we're living in a world where 2-minute bit is worth more than an hour. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
So anybody can stumble on a 2-minute awesome bit. Anyone can stumble on a 2-minute awesome bit. Anyone can put that on the internet, and all of a sudden now, once you have that target on your back, there's where the other side of what you're saying is that, oh, this kid is really good. Now, will he be able to? That 2 minutes now has to become an hour. Do you know what I mean? So I understand what you're saying completely. I mean, is this kid, whoever he is, a natural, or did he luck out? And because once you get that exposure, you know, it could be the death of you too, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's I totally see exactly what you're saying, and I agree with it. But that again, that's the world that we're in right now. To be able to at least have that opportunity to fail or die in such a short amount of time.
Yeah. And it just seems to me, and again, this is just my perspective, to me, like the people who pick that kid aren't respecting the art form. Because I would say it takes...
He's angry, mate. I don't know why.
I'm not.
I've told him to go to therapy. I've done everything for him. It doesn't work. He's going to mention class in a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me what you're saying, Francis.
But look, to me, it's that they're not respecting the art form, because to me, it takes at least 10 years to become for
Who
most
picked
people.
the kid, though? This is the thing. Like the kid was chosen because we're now in the internet world. It wasn't the kid. The kid's just putting out a TikTok video.
Yeah.
The kid's just putting out an Instagram video. The kid's just taping his show on his iPhone at the Monkey Barrel. He's doing a bit in his car about eyebrows. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's the people that are picking him, if you're talking about like industry and that sort of stuff, well, you know, the industry isn't picking TikTok people. The industry is a very tight, closed business, man. You're either these guys as friends. If you're not friends with Dar O'Brien or one of these guys, you're not going anywhere, man. Do you know what I mean? If you're not friends with Jimmy Carr, you're not going anywhere. You're like, that's how tight this business is. So again, I want to use the double-edged sword. This kid, whoever's got the 2 minutes, at least bypasses that.
Well, right.
That circle
you didn't
to
have
be
that
able to
option
try
before,
and get
did
in.
you?
No,
you didn't have that option. So I agree with you. There's a tremendous amount of opportunity right now as well. Yeah. I don't think Live at the Apollo is the opportunity, by the way, because I know people have done it who, again, they were less experienced than perhaps they would have wanted to be. And they got, I don't know, 1,000 Twitter followers off the back of it. It's not life-changing anymore. That's why I try not to talk about it, really, because I don't think it's worth the discussion.
No.
What I do find interesting, though, Tom, is a friend of mine, a mutual friend of ours, actually, another comic, went to see your show in Edinburgh, which is just finished.
Right.
And he messaged me after going, I think Tom's had enough of this shit. Yeah. And I don't know what shit he was talking about exactly, but I was curious.
Yeah, I threw out every rule in the book is what I've done. I got tired of listening to people going, well, you can't punch up and you can't punch down, and you know that's a hack premise or that's a dick joke or whatever. And I was like, you know what, you're now deciding what the masses want. Do you know what I mean? You're saying that we can't talk about this, or this subject is off topic or whatever, or you're going to get canceled. There's so much just fear about what kind of material you're gonna do. You know what I mean? And I've just gone to the point, well, you know what? I'm gonna take everything everybody's scared of saying, and I'm gonna chuck it right in their face. And so I just decided, you know, give me a dick joke. I'm gonna tell it like Mike Wilmot. I'm gonna throw it out there. You want an airplane joke? Here comes an airplane joke. You want me to talk like Dave Chappelle to tell you like it is? I'll tell you like it is. You know what I mean? And I just felt that, you know, instead of trying to fit this mold, I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna be an all-around comedian and not really listen to my peers anymore, because I don't think they know what they're saying. I think they've gotten to a point where they're not themselves anymore. They're just trying to appease an audience. You know what I mean? Not even an audience, more their own peers. You know, because they're so afraid to look stupid or whatever. You know what I mean? So to me, I've gotten to the point where I will just do any type of material out there to the best of my ability. And I love my strap-on joke, man. I got a fucking killer strap-on joke. And I've also got a killer transgender. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm at right now. I'm just decided, you know, no more peers. If I
Tom, sorry to interrupt. I'm just curious. You talk about fear, you talk about having a mold, and these are all points that I would have pointed out in the past, and the reaction always is, you're making it up, it's all bullshit, no one's afraid to, no one's self-censoring in comedy, no one's not saying what, like, but I hear what out of you is that you think people are doing this, and you think they're doing it because they're worried about what other comedians will say. You think that's what it is? I'm
positive that's what it is, man. To be able to go up on stage and to, you know, I don't know, dude, say you thought of something funny, but you thought, oh God, you know, what's fucking Jeff Norcott gonna say, or what's this guy gonna say? Because, you know, you're living, again, if I can go back, you're living in a world where there's now rules of comedy, which comedy was there to break all those rules. Do you know what I mean? And we've just gotten so far to what you can say and what you can't say, and then once you break out of that and realize, you know, you're there to do a job, and the people that will like you will stay, and the people that don't like you that will stay. And you know what, my peers, you know, if they're in the same boat as me on that one. I'm going, if you like it, hang out with me. If you don't hang out with me. But I'm not going to sit there and be in this box that you guys are trying to keep me in now. And my first thing was, I want to tell every dick joke. I want to tell every hack fucking premise. I want to do everything that will scare the fuck out of you, but that audience will fucking die laughing, because you got to understand that, you know, how can I say this? We've been dying out on caviar every fucking day lately. I want a McDonald's burger. You know what I mean? I'm getting tired of the snails, man.
Yeah. The snails is a good metaphor.
Tom, look, because when you came to this country, the comedy culture was completely different in the, like you said, in sort of 2000, 2001. Yeah. It was completely different. What was it like then? And when did you notice the change? When did you notice this kind of more, let's call it orthodox way of thinking, or censorist way of thinking?
Okay, I think that all came when the social media bubble showed up. Once you started all of a sudden seeing all these clips of all these other comedians out there, and I know a lot of comedians sit there and go, I don't watch other comedians. I don't watch other people's fucking specials because I don't want to step on anybody's thing. But it's impossible not to.
Yeah.
You know, and And the problem is back then, you didn't watch a lot of people's specials. Back then, you watched who you were on with and all of that sort of stuff. But now the problem is that you do have all these comedians. It's like, it's kind of like the way a high school girl would flip through Cosmo magazine. You know, now you are living in this world where you're trying to compete with impossible standards, because how can you not watch every comedian putting his thing on the thing? How can you not watch that and not compare yourself to it? You know what I mean? And you feel like that fat little girl reading Cosmopolitan going, I can never achieve this stuff, but yet you still try, which makes you, in a way, a bit of a phony because you don't believe in yourself. You know what I mean? So I think that back then you had no choice to believe in yourself. And that's where the comedy came from. And now you're sitting there, you're trying to compete with the rest of the world, which is just an impossible fucking task, man. And it puts a lot of pressure on you. And so when you say, what's the difference? The difference is that it's hard to believe in yourself when you have all this other stuff going on and you're trying to compete. So you're trying to, just stay in a certain line of a certain topic, or whatever, where I don't think you had that back in 2001, 2002. Definitely didn't have it in the 80s. Definitely didn't have it in the 90s. You know what I mean? But come 2010, man, it was like, everybody's just that, fat little girl watching supermodels on TV all the time and just sort of going, I want to be like her instead of wanting to be you.
Hey Francis, do you want to protect your privacy?
Of course I do. Now that I'm an international celebrity who's appeared on hit shows like the Joe Rogan Experience, I have to protect myself from vicious people looking to tear me down. I'm the Michael Jackson of the internet.
Not the celebrity I would have gone for, but trust is important when picking a VPN.
I don't trust anyone after she left me. She took everything.
Francis, remember what your lawyer said.
Good point. You can trust ExpressVPN because they don't sell your data to advertisers. They've even created software called Trusted Server that means they can't store any data at all.
ExpressVPN uses Lightweight, a VPN protocol that makes user speeds faster than ever. ExpressVPN is now blazingly fast. You can watch HD videos with zero buffering.
Thousands of pounds in legal fees.
The great thing about ExpressVPN is that you don't need any technical skills to set it up, just like Francis. Fire up the app and it's one button to connect.
One tap on a button was all it needed for my entire life to disintegrate.
Loads of people are saying that ExpressVPN is the best VPN there is. Business Insider, The Verge, and many other tech journals rate ExpressVPN as the #1 VPN in the world. Go on, Francis.
Protect yourself with ExpressVPN. Use our link, expressvpn.com/trigger today and get an extra 3 months free on a 1-year package.
That's expressvpn.com/trigger. Visit expressvpn.com/trigger to learn more.
She took everything. When did you feel like things start to change with what was acceptable to say or the correct way to
Oh, like the death of the sexual assault jokes and the rape jokes and all of that sort of stuff.
Because I remember when I started in 2009, it was like if you didn't have one, if you didn't have a rape joke, it was like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
No, we're all doing it. Like, and then suddenly,
that's a real tough one for me to answer, Francis. And it's not that I'm fear of it, because when I think of that, I think of book burning. When you're talking about what you can say and what you can't say came in, okay? And is that what we're talking about? Just so I make sure. When all of a sudden that ain't funny anymore, that ain't again, that goes where society went. All of a sudden, you're seeing all that stuff on TV for real. It isn't just a joke anymore. It's like proper real stuff going on. But in its defense, and I really mean this, and this is coming from my mother, of all people, it's like Footloose. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Hey, you can't tell rape jokes around here no more. Hey, boy, watch yourself. You know, there's a town dance. And not saying that it is cool, but my mom said it the best. Anytime you can't show the absurdity of it, anytime you can't, because that's all they were. Like everybody thinks, this word joke is an interesting thing. Do you know what I mean? Because these subjects aren't jokes. Do you know what I mean? A joke to me is two guys walk into a bar. That is, and you put that beside any of those words, all of a sudden, yeah, it cheapens this out. But if you're sitting there going, I want to show you the absurdity of this topic, and that's what most really great comedians can do, from George Carlin. But the problem is that the word joke just takes it out. Do you know what I mean? And so the problem is once you hide all these jokes away, you know what I mean? You put them in the dark, they just grow stronger and stronger and stronger. And the only way to actually you got to shine some light on them and put some clown shoes and clown nose on that nightmare of a thing to show that it's the absurdity. So in actual fact, by not talking about it and showing the absurdity behind it, you know, you actually probably influence more people to do it. Do you know what I mean? Because you don't talk about it for the ridiculousness that it is, man.
Go for it.
I was going to say, like, I started probably a little bit later in like 2014, I think.
Okay.
I started doing stand-up then. And by that point, you wouldn't have heard anyone doing a rape joke on the circuit.
No.
And I don't feel like my life is poorer for it. I'm not sitting there going, oh my God, you know, we lost the great material about rape. Like,
I agree.
That wasn't a thing that I felt.
I'm not defending it.
No, none of us are.
None.
I'm trying to also protect you a little bit, because there'll be people watching this.
Of course there will.
Yeah.
This is where Jeff said I've lost it. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
This is what he was saying. You know what? No, fine. If you don't want to hear it, but yeah,
Yeah. And so I want to protect you a little bit, because I think what you're talking about is it's important not to have rules in comedy so people can be free to be creative, but that often gets misinterpreted deliberately by people who want to disagree with us as we don't want to have rules in comedy because you want to do an hour set about rape.
No.
That's
ridiculous.
I know,
too,
but that is the way that people mischaracterize these things sometimes. So, but the freedom that you're talking about, you know, before the social media comes in, it's fascinating because I think it's really interesting that comedians are self-censoring.
They are.
To protect themselves from the opinions of other comedians, given the fact that that's not who we're playing to.
No.
As a comedian or as a YouTube show host or podcast or whatever, we're playing to the people watching this, right? That's our job.
Yeah.
It's not our job to be liked by other comedians, and yet that seems to be, according to you at least, the direction that it's gone in.
Of course, I believe that. Again, I want to say, any one of my opinions can change. I'm old enough to know to not stick, but for now, for where I'm at, that's how I feel until somebody comes along and explains it a different way to me and can go, oh,
that makes sense.
I totally can see that. I'm not inflexible on any of these things. But yes, I do agree, because and most of the comedians live in this world called cancel culture, which is such a new thing too. Do you know what I mean? Like just one joke, I mean, that can change all of a sudden this whole body of work. You do one joke can all of a sudden wipe all that stuff out. A bar, of course, illegal activity of any kind. Do you know what I mean? That's a whole different thing. But what I'm talking about is, so you made an attempt at doing something a little bit more risque, a little bit more dangerous, and that's why you're seeing comedians now asking people not to bring their cameras in on a working night
Yeah.
where you're trying to work out stuff. And I mean, that's where we're at now. That again, that just shows the fear of everything. And it's like people just do, how can I say it? A paycheck comedy, I guess. Paycheck comedy would be the best way to do it, where you're really writing things that are there not to offend anyone. Do you know what I mean? And that's where me and Patrice O'Neill would agree that just isn't comedy. That's selling products. Do you know what I mean? Like you if you pleased everybody in that audience, you know what I mean? Then I've also got this for sale, sponsored by, you know. Whereas the best comedy that you ever had, you know, there's people walking out going, I can't believe he said that, you know. But again, we're back to being subjective and all that.
Do you think society's changed as well, though, Tom?
Of course it has.
Because I guess I think part of the reason is 20 years ago, people would walk out of a comedy club and they'd be like, I can't believe he said that.
Yeah.
Let's go for a pint. Whereas now it's like, I can't believe he said that. Let's go on social media.
You know, what do you want me to say after that? Because that's exactly what happens, man. That is exactly your stupid ass opinion now can be translated to the world to be part of the content pollution that is out there. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just. It's amazing. Back in the day, like I wholeheartedly agree with you. I don't know how I can add to what you're about to say, because you're right. You would walk out, and the most people you could talk to was 7 or 8 guys. And 4 of them would go, shut up and quit being such a fucking weenie, man. It's just a fucking comedy show. You know what I mean? Like, fucking, if you don't like them, don't go and fucking see them. How about that, man? But you're right. Now, fucking, you don't like a comedy show. Oh, my God. Here comes a Facebook post. Here comes a block. I got to block you now. I got to do all of that sort of stuff.
TripAdvisor.
4-star, 3.5-star comedian. Yeah, man. So I don't know how I can. I'm only going to agree with you on that one.
Good. That's what I like. Just do that. That's fine.
I don't want to argue that point because it's very valid. And like I said, how do you change with this world, being the dinosaur that I am? Do you know what I mean? It's like, what fucking Trudy said it the best. It's like every time you go on stage, it's like watching a 90s comedian do a guest spot. And like when she saw Rick Astley on the Foo Fighters, she goes, "That's you, Tom." And I'm like, "Well, welcome to Jurassic Park." You know. Yeah. So that's it's just the whole scene has just changed. So the real question is okay, the pendulum always swings too far one way. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And if you're a Buddhist or any of those things, you know nothing stays the same. So for what I would like to think is that even though we are in this world, of you know, and before I even say this, I also got to give credit to the comedians that aren't playing that part. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because there's a lot of young comedians out there. I don't want to brush them all on the same, because there are some really great young comedians that are also in my boat going, fuck this shit. I'm not dealing with that. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that. So I don't want to do it all together. But it is safer going the other route, you know? But there's going to be a backlash to whatever's going on right now. Do you know what I mean? You can't not think that it's just going to keep on going that way. You know what I mean? Because people will eventually get bored of it, and you know who the people will be? The next generation. Because I also feel that every generation, this is the backlash to my generation. Do you know what I mean? This is...
I don't actually. Explain.
Well, for all the times, you know, like for all the things we were talking about, the kids have to talk about something different. Do you know what I mean? To make a name for themselves.
This is a man who's a father of 2 kids in their 20s.
Yeah, man. Fortunately, I didn't get that backlash. But I think the comedians like the who would I say, the Bo Burnhams maybe or whatever, they're the backlash to our thing, because you have to. How are you gonna be the same as your dad? Do you know what I mean? You have to do the exact opposite of your dad just to get noticed. So I think that also plays a big part in what's going on nowadays, because, whereas we grew up on Richard Pryor and all of those guys and whatever, Billy Connolly for this country.
Yeah, for us it was Carlin and Hicks and people like that as well.
Of course. Okay. But for the average viewer, every time I say Carlin, they don't know who the fuck he is out in the UK. And I'm like, what? Which also shows you that the greatest comedian didn't really even go global, man. Whereas, Ali Wong, everybody knows, nothing against Ali Wong. We're just talking about the oh God, I hate when I lose words, but the advertisement, something in that range. Yeah. Her PR went fucking crazy. Whereas George Carlin, stayed in America, but it was great. The backlash to them was like, well, they were the backlash to the Bob Newharts and all that sort of stuff. And then for the longest time it was there. And then we got to Evening at the Improv. I don't know if you ever remember that show. And then all of a sudden it started to become a little more TV clean, which is where we showed up. You know what I mean? We still wanted to be like them, but, and then all of a sudden we probably took it maybe a little too far to go back to the topics and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. We maybe did take it a little too far, because you can only bring that so far too. And I think, and then these guys go, well, I'm just going to be the cleanest comic that ever was and be able to do all this sort of stuff. But what I'm trying to say is eventually the next generation of comedians will be bored of that and will probably go back to where we are.
Tom,
maybe.
It's such a good point, and maybe that will happen. I mean, you were involved in not a cancellation, but you used to write jokes for Frankie Boyle show, Tramadol Night, and that had its own share of scandals. I remember one that went all over the newspaper, ban this filth, etc. So what was it like to be in the center of that?
You're talking the Tramadol Nights, Francis?
Yeah.
That was probably I would attribute that to the beginning of it, when it was him and Katie Price had the art. I know what you're talking about. The argument.
If you explain it to the viewers.
Frankie Boyle, believe it or not, if you don't know who he is, he's one of the last loves just saying things for, he's a very intelligent man, very great joke writer, but he's definitely not afraid of backlash in any. I remember him actually telling me conflict is better than agreement. You know what I mean? Especially in conflict, because if you're doing comedy and, you just walk out and go, oh, that was a nice show, you're going to forget about the dude. But if you go out and go, all of a sudden, conflict, you're going to remember the person's name, right? So he did a joke, obviously, about Harvey.
I have a theory that Jordan married a cage fighter because she needed someone strong enough to stop Harvey from fucking her.
Ridiculous. It was obviously ridiculous. But you also have a fame-hungry monster on the other side named Katie Price, who saw an opportunity to go, oh my God, this will put me in the papers, because I don't know her personally or anything like that, but people's actions speak louder than words. And if you want to debate me on Katie Price's actions over her lifetime, I think she's a bit of a fame-hungry monster.
A bit of an attention seeker.
A bit of an attention seeker, man. And normally a joke like that would have just flown by for Frankie, but he caught the attention of this. And all of a sudden that became one of the biggest stories of that time. And I think it ignited wow, actually, I've never thought about that until just now. So here's my first opinion on it before it gets changed throughout the years, is I think that would have been one of the first times that people saw that you could get outraged at a joke and stop something. Because after that, they canceled this wonderful dark show that was just getting its foot. I'm not saying it was the greatest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Tramadol Nights was the greatest show ever, but it had the potential to be like the next Young Ones or whatever, because the sketches were just outrageous. You had Jim Muir, can't even remember the other dude, which is bad, but Jim Muir and this very talented, I think it was Berniston guy, he was in with him, and then Frankie and me, and it had the potential to be this wonderful, offensive, taboo kind of, all right, let's close the curtains and watch, smoke a big joint, but she was really, I can't think of anyone before that who attacked a joke. So I think that might have, if I could throw in my how many marbles are in the jar theory, I think that might have been one of the first outrage to show people that, if I get really offended at a joke, I can actually do something about it, so.
Did the show get cancelled?
It got canceled because of that, man. She sued. I don't know all the details, because when you got a show like that, the one thing about it is that Frankie's the hit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not the hit. They're not coming after me, and they're not going after Jim, and they're not going after the Berniston guy. They're going after Frankie. Do you know what I mean? And I think she was going to sue them. And when you got executives going, I don't need this kind of hassle, fucking bend. But in a way, it also helped, because Tramadol Nights became like a little one-season cult a show that's just out there with some really shitty sketches, like really shitty.
Actually, a former
sketches.
guest of the show the other day, for an unrelated reason, sent me a clip from that, which is the professor who
wanked off.
He wanks himself back in time. So it was of its time.
Jesus off on the cross.
Yeah. He takes his students back in time, and only half of them come back. Because anyway,
it's so funny.
Yeah.
But again, sorry.
Of its time too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, is it really though? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, some of the sketches, I think some of them will. I mean, come on, man! Just a kid jerking Jesus off on the cross to get back to like fucking his DeLorean to get back to time was. I mean, it's so outrageous and ridiculous that anyone who took it seriously, you know what I mean? I don't know what to say to you, you know? But yeah, definitely. Oh my God, I haven't thought about that in years, Konstantin. I remember that. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, so I think to the point of, yeah, I think that might have sparked off the outrage, the offensive culture that came after that for this country. I don't know what was going on in Canada, or I don't think the Frankie Boyle, Katie Price fight hit Canada, but it definitely hit here, because then you'd have all the stars like the whatever, what's her name, Cheryl,
Cheryl Cole?
Cheryl Cole and all that getting involved and going, you shouldn't bring people's kids into this, and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, and then all of a sudden the debate was created, and the show got canceled, but Katie got more famous and Frankie got more famous. So in a way, they mutually helped each other, but in a way, they might have started the outrage, the offense. You can do something about it. The times that we're living in.
And do you
I'm not sure I believe that, but it sounds really good.
Hey Francis, if you were a member of the public, would you like the opportunity to ask incredible guests like Bill Burr, Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, Adam Carolla, Brett Weinstein, John Barnes, Douglas Murray, Nigel Farage and Lionel Shriver your own questions?
You bet I would.
And what do you think the best way to do that would be?
Probably stalking, mate. You'd have to corner them in the supermarket, probably run near like the sort of frozen food aisles, and then just bark questions at them before they can escape. Not the American ones, as they have guns. And you'd have to be extra careful with the females, as that's how I got in trouble last time.
Do you really imagine you're going to get Douglas Murray near the frozen food aisle? If you want to ask our incredible guest questions and have access to phenomenal behind-the-scenes content, then you have to be on our locals.
That's right, for only $7 a month, you get incredible extra content, behind-the-scenes footage, giveaways, and also the chance to be part of an incredible community where you can meet and hang out with like-minded people.
You get access to our American vlogs as we travel across the country interviewing our heroes. An extra 20 minutes of our viral Sam Harris episode as he discusses his approach to COVID. We're also going to start doing giveaways of exclusive Trigonometry merchandise like this, a poster from our Edinburgh show signed by both of us.
And also a House of Lords teddy, which you can only get in the House of Lords, signed by the one and only Baroness Fox. Locals also gives you access to an incredible online community. You can share memes, talk about the latest episode, or even make a new friend.
Or just one.
Exactly, more than both of us have really. People are now doing meetups in their city because they love locals. In fact, some people enjoy it so much they prefer it over the show. They prefer locals to trigonometry.
If I have to get him executed, I'm the one that goes to jail. Right, go to trigonometry.locals.com.
Only $7 a month for all that incredible content. Trigonometry.locals.com. See you there, guys.
Tom, did you find yourself after that self-censoring more and more with your material?
Not really, because again, I wasn't in the thing, and I'm not an offensive comedian, Francis. Like, do you know what I mean? I can write offensive jokes,
which are brilliant. You're genuinely
I mean?
one of my favorite comics. I mean, I've seen you go on stage, Tom, and talk about, say, are there any men here in their 50s?
Yeah.
Are there any men here in their 50s with an 18-year-old daughter? And they went, yeah. And he went, do you ever sometimes look at their friends? And look, I was the MC at that gig. I was in the back dying with laughter. Right. Everyone was dying with laughter. There were a few women who maybe didn't appreciate it.
Of course there were, man. But my daughter liked that joke. So let's just say that right now. My daughter was the one that said, I wanted to use a funny name. And I kept trying to think of all her friends, and Natalka was the funniest because it just had that to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because I'm also the person that wrote Meat Van, which is the least offensive. But I mean, I don't want to be a Dave Chappelle, and I don't want to be a Bill Burrs or these guys, and they're all great. You know what I mean? But I want to be like well-rounded. You know, I want to be able to step on both sides of the fence. I want to be able to say, you know what, I got a kids show coming up. You know, I want to go in and I don't want to tell them about finding your daughter's friend. You're not allowed to find your daughter's friend sexy. But you know, it's just one of those things that I don't want to pigeonhole who I am. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be known as an offensive comedian because that's just wrong. Do you know what I mean? I want to be known as a guy who could tell an offensive joke. Ooh, Tom's told something a little risque, but he's also, he's also talked about Argos, for crying out loud, man, so but I don't mind where we're talking about, Francis, is I don't mind going there,
Yeah.
if that's what you're saying. I don't mind going there, but I definitely don't want it to be labeled, oh, here comes Tom, the offensive comedian. I don't want that either. You know what I mean? I want him to go, oh, man, fucking that guy had there was something for everybody in there, man.
But to me, that marks out the best comedians. Like, if you think about Bill Hicks, everyone always remembers his political bits, but he also remembered the bit about the Gideon Bible. Like, who are the Gideons? You never seen one, never met one, yet they're all over the fucking world. Like, it's a great bit of observational material.
Of course.
And to me, those are the best comedians. I think that now this kind of need to categorize everybody kind of demeans the art form, reduces it. What is offensive to one is not offensive to another.
You gotta, the word subjective, man, is so prominent in art. There is no, come on, man, of course. You talk about Bill Hicks. I can remember the first time I saw him, wasn't even on, it was on Rodney Dangerfield's special. I was in a town so small, in a hotel, I dialed 9, and I got the Elmer Dinkley residence. Do you remember that one? Do you know that one? You see? So you're right, he does. And then all of a sudden he launches into advertisement, So he does have that range to him that he could do. But the more he does one thing, the more people want that thing. And it's hard for him to stay true to, you can't just launch out on an attack on advertising. I see what you're saying, Bill. No, you don't get what I'm saying. Oh, that's the angle there, Bill. I don't say what you're saying. And then him going, so I was in a hotel so small. Like right after that, it's gotta, so maybe you grow into who you are, you give the people what they want. And I'm not sure if that's the way I would like to go. You know what I mean? I don't want to just, like you say, go, hey, if people really like that, I should do more of that. I know I got to stay true to, stay true to all aspects. It's good to be able to write all different kinds of jokes. Everybody must agree on that, man. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure even the one thing I do know about comedians, even these young ones, they do have dark jokes.
Yeah.
But they just won't tell them on stage. They'll tell them at the table in the comedy club going, hey, man, I got this sexual.
That's kind of one of the funny things to me and Francis, because we get criticized by comedians a lot for the things that we say. And yet, we're only saying the exact same things they're saying in the car on the way home.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Of course you do, man. Of course I do.
That's all that we're saying and nothing more. But listen, coming back to Edinburgh and coming back to you were talking about, you want to, I suspect that what you're really talking about is you want to be authentic to who Tom Stade is.
Yes.
You want to be you rather than trying to be somebody else.
To let the audience guide you in what kind of material you're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I find weird, though, is obviously while you were in Edinburgh, Jerry Sadowitz, his show gets pulled. And I'm going, like, if you've seen Jerry Sadowitz ever, if you've read the title of a show, if you've read the promo, like, you cannot possibly be under any illusions that this is a guy who's deliberately offensive and that's the act, right? It's the act. And yet even that, like, he does everything he can to make sure people understand I'm an offensive comedian. His show is called Not For Anyone. I don't, you can get clear on that. And yet somehow people still will come to his show, they'll get upset, they'll complain to the venue. Maybe it was the staff at the venue, I suspect, that complained.
Oh, I can tell. Yeah.
Oh.
Dude, before we go into that, the staff, when I was on my last tour, I played a place called the Glee Club, and I used the word appropriately. I used the word gay and retard, just because it's from. But in context.
Yes.
Of
Yeah.
course. Do you know what I mean? I would never, not going out on the street and, you know, whatever, this. And yeah, I had the staff complain. So now, and the next day they said, Tom, can you please not use those 2 words on tonight's show because whatever, we're LGBTQ friendly here. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You think I'm not? My daughter's a dancer. You know what I mean? Are you fucking out of your fucking mind? I've been to parties with 2 kids that were breaking up, talking to these 2 boys, going, "You're meant for each other, man. What are you doing?" You know what I mean? Like just because your topics or whatever doesn't. What do you think? What do you think I'm gay bashing out there? You're out of your fucking mind, man. But with Jerry was an interesting one over the festival because. Yes, he is offensive. There's no doubt about it. There's not what you said. Not for anyone. Perfect title. Everything said. But what I heard was it got into the racial hatred area. You know what I mean? And I'm glad Jerry's out there because personally, I don't think. He would match that. I don't think Jerry's a racist in any way from the man that I know and all of that sort of stuff. But because he's so offensive, I think you want to go there. Do you know what I mean? You want to at least talk about it in your own way, create the absurdity that it is. But I wasn't at the show, so I only get drips and drabs of what happened. But in a way, again, with a guy like Jerry, to be banned is kind of what he wants. Do you know what I mean? To be banned, from what I heard, from them banning him, and he only had 2 shows anyways. Like, let's not think that, oh my God, Jerry's been banned for the whole run. How will he ever? He only had 2 shows, the first one. And after he got banned, his actual tour sold out, man. Because you're right. If you're going to Jerry Sadowitz and thinking that over all the years, this man has cultivated trying to offend you from day fucking, we got punched out in Montreal, I believe, for saying moose fucker. And, the Canadians were outraged. And I'm like, that's not the half of it, man. And for him to get banned at the Pleasance and listen to, we don't condone this kind of art form from whoever I can't remember what the owner said. We don't support that kind of
Tom,
thing.
can I interrupt you there? Because
Yeah.
it's an important moment, right? They didn't actually say we don't support this kind of material. Do you know what they said?
Tell me.
We don't support the opinions Jerry Sadowitz expressed on stage.
Yeah. That's
The
that's
opinions.
Right.
So your comedy act is now your opinions.
Yes. Yeah.
How the fuck does that work?
Well, it obviously works because they said it. I don't know how, because it seems a little bit ridiculous.
But
to
anyway,
me.
sorry, I interrupted you. So your point you're making is it's to his benefit, which thank fuck, by the way, that it is.
Yeah.
It should be to his benefit.
Yeah, you try to cancel Jerry. He's one of those guys, if you try to cancel him, you'll only make him bigger.
Yeah.
You know, if you really wanted to hurt him, you should have ignored it.
Yeah.
You should have just fucking ignored it and said, only one more show, let him get him out of here, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
But what you did was, you made him more popular than ever. Now all the racists are gonna come and see him, and he's gonna be like, I got the gay pink dollar, I got the racist dollar, I got all these dollars coming in, Yeah. So, to me that was. A lot of people said that was the death of the festival because if it can happen to him, imagine what they can do to comedians that wouldn't survive it.
Yes.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's the real scary point on that.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, of course I do, man. Because now now you can, there's this another underlying fear you have to worry about out there is oh my God, if I say one wrong thing, if I offend the bartender or whatever, and I get whatever coming back, I could lose my run now. And if I'm not as big as Jerry is, and that you could have what was that? There was a lad kid a little while back that they got really mad at, that it actually did happen to, and I don't know if you remember, he was doing lad.
Yes, the dapper laughs.
Dapper laughs, man.
Yeah.
He's the opposite end of that.
Yeah.
He got banned, and then his career just went down the fucking tubes, man, from the festival. So Dapper laughs, that's right, man. So he's the opposite. He's something that could happen because they were what you said, they were putting his opinions. This is a character he's doing, but people decided that those were his opinions, and boom, gone. You know what I mean? So he didn't have the same strength as Jerry to rise up to it, because Jerry had the people to go, like you're saying, that are, of course Jerry's offensive. He's the most offensive comedian. What do you think? You're not going to see an offensive comedian, and then
it's a good impression of him.
Yeah, and Dapper was the opposite of that, man. Yeah. He got hammered. And we've never seen him since, man. We've never seen him since. And he was just doing a character on whether you like it or not, his character was pretty spot on what goes on out there,
Yeah. Tom, do you ever worry about comedy, the way it's going, and like you seeing these things happen? Or do you have faith, like you said, that it will swing back?
I have faith that it'll swing back, Francis. Because here's the other thing. If I was 20 years old, this is my starting point. Do you know what I mean? And how do you know that these kids, these new comedians, they're just early on in their career? Do you know what I mean? Maybe they'll be looking at it going, I can't believe I did that shit. You know what I mean? Like every other comedian looks back on their material and goes, oh God, I'm embarrassed that I even did that and changed, because every comedian has an arc to them. Do you know what I mean? Some of them don't, and they don't go anywhere, but the real good ones have a nice arc to them that will change. And I think, I do think that comedy goes through periods. Do you know what I mean? And this is just where we are, and we can talk about it like we're doing right now. We can complain about it. We can show its merits. We can show its faults. And for us, it's scary because it's not a world we know. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's this whole new, everything we know is slowly slipping away, and now I have to find my place in it without changing who I am. You know what I mean? And that's a very tough route to go down, but I'm going to have to do it or I fade away. You know what I mean? Like, I just got on TikTok, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh my God, I got 174,000 views on something, and my endorphin levels went up through the roof. So in a way, to me, as much as I don't like it, I also find it a really good tool for me too. You know what I mean? Because you still got to remember, there's enough of us. There's enough of my generation to fight off this generation, right? There's enough of 50-year-olds and that think it's shit, that fucking hate it, and they want, they want the Dave Chappelle talk about transgender, whereas, and you could see the push. And if I could use that as a nice example, you can see the pushback, again, but it takes a strong comedian like that to lead the charge in something. So you've got the younger ones that are fighting him this way, but you also got his fans that are going, shut the fuck up. But again, that's the change we're moving through for me. Like, I can't not deny it isn't happening. I can't bury my head in the sand, and I can also just see them, even though I may not like it, I can also see them as tools. And how can I use these tools to inject my kind of comedy in there? Like, throw a little, wood shoe in the clog, and maybe influence one of these younger comedians to be, to, I don't want to say be like me, it's like so bad, but to show them another way,
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, it's a nice positive note on which to wrap up, Tom. It's been a real pleasure. I
pleasure.
hope people will come and see you. I think they've got a flavor of the stuff that you do. And you're a very good comic, of course. The last question we always ask is always the same, which is, what do you think is the one thing we're not talking about as a society that we really should be?
One thing we're not talking about as a society, I think we're not talking about the death of the lead singer of the Tragically Hip, Gord Downie, the Canadian icon that didn't make it globally, but was probably one of the best singers and one of the best bands in the world that got shoved under the carpet for some reason and only really remained in Canada. And I think we should be talking about them and letting the rest of the world, introducing them to the Tragically Hip. And if we talked about it a little more, then the world would have another of the great bands that they're missing.
Fantastic stuff. Tom, thank you so much for coming on.
I'm
so
really
you're
honored.
on TikTok. Where else do people go to find you?
After all this rally.
I'm on Snapchat, TikTok. Tom Stade.
Tom Stade on TikTok.
I'm reluctantly on whatever the tool, Facebook, TikTok. I'm known as the Commander on Twitter. I got an Instagram where somebody else had Tom Stade, so stade.com. Like, just saying these things out loud makes me feel like the hypocrite I know that I might be. But yeah, and we just joined TikTok, so yeah, I'm pretty sure you'd be able to find me if you really needed to, man.
And you're also on tour. Don't forget to plug the tour.
Oh yeah, I'm on. That is one thing. Yeah, thank you, man. I'm so bad at that. I am so bad at promoting I'm always oh God, I always sat there and go, you know where to find me. That was the dumbest thing I've ever done in my career. If you go to tomstade.com, you can find where I'm playing. I'm coming to, I think we got about 40, 50 dates all over the UK.
Amazing.
Yeah. And you can join the loyal Stadenese fans that have been with me since the beginning. And I love them all. I've partied with them and I love them all.
And everyone should go and watch you, because to me, you're one of the finest comedians working at the moment. I love watching your stuff.
Oh, thanks, Francis.
No,
That's
it's a
really
pleasure,
kind, man.
No, well, it's the truth, man.
He looked at me as well, waiting for me to. Yes, mine as well. Yes, I love you as well.
Yeah.
No, we're both big fans, Tom. Make sure you go and see him.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching and listening. We will see you very soon with another brilliant episode like this one, or Raw Show. All of them go out at 7 p.m. UK time.
And we're also going to ask Tom a question from our locals. But if you want your trigonometry on the go, it's also available as a podcast. Take care and see you soon, guys.